Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name is Dennis Brown, and this is my weekly Freight Broker Bootcamp Live every Monday at noon. And today we are going to go over an updated 2025 Freight Broker and Freight Agent Startup Cost Worksheet that I've put together. It's an actual worksheet that you'll be able to download and either print out, or you'll be able to add and kind of customize it to what's going on your end. But it's kind of like used for more of a business plan, right? For a startup, understanding your one-time cost, understanding your recurring cost, understanding your optional costs, things of that nature. So that's what we're going to go over. I'm going to break that down for you. So that's what we're going to do today. Thank you for joining me. Truly appreciate it. Hit me up in the comments with the city and state you're logging in from. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do some shout outs. Then we're going to jump into the training. And then we're going to do live Q&A at the end, like always. Okay. So stick around to the end if you have questions, whether it be about this training or others. Okay. So anything to do with Freight Broker startup or growing a successful freight brokerage or freight agency. All right. So that's where we're at. Let's do some quick shout outs. Cynthia Moore from Maryland, as usual. Scott Taylor from Virginia, soon to be from Texas. Carl from Bethlehem, Georgia. Danny Garcia from Holland, Michigan. Jason from Minnesota. Chairwoman Channel from Suffolk, Virginia. Sorry. Carlos. Welcome, Carlos. Julie Savage Brown from Utah. Shaka Robinson from Hope Mills, North Carolina. Brian Daniel from Independence, Oregon. Carlos from North Carolina. Rad Freight Brokerage from Mountain View, California. Thank you. Betty Jones, welcome. Ricky, based in California. Awesome. Hope you're feeling better, Ricky. Hope the back's doing well. I know you had surgery. April from Temple, Texas. So we got a lot of people from all over the country. I'm excited that you're here. I totally appreciate it. If for whatever reason you're catching this on replay, hit me up in the comments with hashtag replay. I'd love to hear from my replay folks. I know sometimes it's not ideal in the middle of the day, depending on whether you have a job or maybe you're busy in your business, whatever the case may be. So again, thanks for being here. We've got a lot to go over. I'm going to try to do a really quick version of this cost breakdown. I'm not going to go into an enormous amount of depth about each different layer. Okay. I just want you to understand where some of the costs have changed and what the current costs are based on 2025. Okay. So that's where we're at. We're going to give it another minute for people to get live, and then we're going to jump right into the training. Okay. So just bear with me for about 1 minute. Corey from Billings, Montana. I was just talking to a good buddy of mine whose son lives in Great Falls. He's lived there for maybe, 3 or 4 years now. And they're going out to visit him. And I told him how Montana is on my bucket list. You know, I love to fish. I love to hunt. I love the outdoors. So never been to Montana. Definitely on my bucket list. Definitely going to get there. I know I've told you this before, but we just had a conversation with a close friend. And again, he's going out there in the next couple of weeks to visit his son. So you're a lucky man. I think it'd be amazing to live out there. Precious Murphy from Savannah, Georgia. Ted Sethi from Toronto. Welcome, my friend. Good to see you. All right. So we're going to get the show on the road here. Let me just button this up really quick and make sure I've got all my ducks in a row. Okay. Good there. And good there. Okay. Okay, give me 1 sec. Okay. All right. Karen from Spain. Wow, awesome. I love it. Yeah, the weather in the winter, not so much. Corey, not so much. Yeah, you're probably right. I know that you guys have some pretty rough winters. Okay, cool. Okay, so today I'm going to share with you an updated 2025 Freight Broker and Freight Agent Startup Cost Breakdown. I'm going to try to do this entire breakdown in less than 5 minutes, okay? I know you guys are busy. We're going to walk through it really carefully, but what you have to understand is that there are a variety of different costs that come with becoming a freight broker and freight agent. They are different. You have one-time startup costs. You have recurring monthly or annual costs. You have optional costs, things that are optional and not required. So we're going to go over all of those today. I'm going to try to make this brief. So let me just share my screen really quick and we'll dive right in, okay? Once I can find it. Oh, I got way too many windows open. Sorry, guys. Hold on a minute. Shoot. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 sec. Okay, you guys should be seeing it. You should be seeing the worksheet now, and it would be ideal. So confirm with me here really quick that you guys can actually see the worksheet. Let me know in the actually probably let me know that you guys can see the worksheet. That would be ideal. All right, pretty sure you guys can. Hit me up in the comments before we move forward. I just want to make sure you guys can see the worksheet. And then we're going to do a full breakdown here, okay? Okay, good. Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right, so let me jump back over there. All right, so we're going to start with freight broker startup costs, okay? Freight broker cost breakdown. These red areas are one-time startup costs. Number one, setting up your corporation or LLC. I did some research. The average cost across the United States, depending upon what state you're in, is between $100 and $400 one time. Your broker authority, there's an application cost, a one-time application cost of $300 that you'll have to pay to the FMCSA when you file your freight broker application. Your BOC3 is your processing agent. There are lots of options out there, one-time costs ranging from $30 to $50. There are other services that will charge you annually, but there are plenty that will be able to be a one-time cost with no recurring costs, ranging $30 to $50. Your website, you can get a startup website very easy using some of the tools and training that's in my Freight Broker Bootcamp training program. That's going to range anywhere between $250 and $500. Startup training, if you're looking for something like Freight Broker Bootcamp or some other online training program, those are going to range anywhere from maybe, in the low hundreds up to maybe a few $100s. Freight Broker Bootcamp, you can start at $185 one-time cost, all the way up to maybe $400, depending upon what you're looking for. So you can see here, the one-time cost range is between $865 and $1,650. Now, that's not your total cost. That's your one-time cost, all right? So that would be kind of an upfront investment that you would have to become a freight broker, all right? Now, as we go down into these green areas, these are recurring costs. You can see some of them are yearly, some of them are monthly. So let me review them very quickly. Your UCR is your Unified Carrier Registration, which is a requirement in order to get your freight broker license. That is a $46 yearly cost. Your website hosting, there are tons of hosting options out there ranging anywhere from maybe $3 up to $30 a month. But ultimately, you can get a annual hosting program for maybe $50 a year. That's very average, okay? Your bond costs, this is the biggest cost depending upon your credit. Typically, those bonds are going to run anywhere between $1,000 and around $3,000 or $4,000 a year, depending upon your credit. But if you do have some banged up credit or some difficult credit, or maybe you've had some issues or bankruptcy in the back, in your past, they can go as high as I've seen $11,000. So there's a big range there, but I see most falling somewhere in the range of $1,000 to $4,000 is the range, and it's heavily based upon your personal credit. TMS, your transportation management software, you can get started $75 to $150 a month very easily. There's a lot of great solutions out there in that price range. Load boards like Truckstop and DAT and other load boards. You're going to need at least one good load board. That's why I suggest it's probably going to cost you anywhere between $100 and $300 a month, depending upon the different tool sets that you include in your subscription. Then you got carrier vetting tools, things like Carrier OK or Carrier 411. You can get started with those vetting tools for maybe $50 to $100 a month. And I highly recommend you use those as a way to vet and ensure that the carriers that you're using are good carriers. And number one, that there's no fraud involved and that they're legitimate carriers that you're working with. Okay. It's an important step that's happened, particularly over the last 5 to 10 years. It's really, really important. These yellow highlighted areas are optional costs. These are not required to become a freight broker. Most states do not require these, but some states may. So you can see this is general liability. The cost for that is going to cost anywhere between maybe $25 and $83 a month. And then your contingent cargo, again, this is a optional cost, not required, but that would be anywhere typically between $100 and $400 a month. Now you can see the monthly recurring cost can be as low as $316 or as high as $1,957. But I want to qualify that really a lot, because if you look at the bond cost, if you had this is taking into an account the highest bond cost that I've seen, $11,000, and that's over $900 a month. So if you were falling more into the $1,500 to $4,000 range, that monthly recurring cost would be much, much lower. It'd probably be, again, it could be, $500 or more per month less, okay? Depending upon what your credit is, all right? So that gives you a really good understanding and breakdown of the freight broker startup cost, all right? Your one-time cost is going to range between maybe $865 and $1,650, and your monthly recurring is going to be $316 up to $1,957. Now, here's the cool thing. Here's what I want you to do. Let me just share this with you really quick. If you stick around, I'm going to share a link with you at the end where you can actually download this exact worksheet, right? You can copy it as an Excel or copy it into your Google Drive. And then what you can do is you can have this, and then you over here in this column, you can start putting your costs in there so you can understand based upon the choices that you make and whatever your cost basis is, and you'll have a full understanding and be able to track your one-time and your recurring costs, okay? So it's a great tool for financial management and planning, particularly for freight broker startups. All right, so that's freight broker cost breakdown. Now let's look at the freight agent cost breakdown. This is much, much easier because you can see these blacked out areas. We don't need an authority. We don't need a BOC3. We don't need a website. We don't need a UCR. We don't need website hosting. We don't need a bond. We don't need contingent cargo, right? So these are all things that freight agents don't need because they operate under the license and authority of a licensed freight broker. So we're going to break down these costs. Same cost for a corporation or LLC. We do strongly recommend that you get one as an agent. If you don't have it up front, you're definitely going to want to get it on the back end once you have the finances. Startup training, same sort of cost basis for Freight Broker Bootcamp, $185 up to $400, depending upon what type of program you choose. It could be less or more. So that makes your one-time cost range, anywhere from $285 up to $800 max. That's kind of your breakdown, okay, of your startup one-time cost. Now, as we go into the recurring costs, you can see, again, we don't need a UCR. We don't need a website. We don't need a bond. But we will need a TMS. Now, most freight brokers are going to pass through the TMS cost. So you are going to have to pay for your own TMS. There are some brokers who will actually pay for that for you. But for planning purposes, we're going to assume that you have to pay that yourself. Again, that's $75 to $150 for your TMS. Your load boards, the same sort of deal with brokers. They're usually going to pass through those costs. Sometimes it won't be quite this much, but we're going to assume that they're going to pass through the full cost just for planning purposes. That's going to range you anywhere between $100 and $300 a month. Carrier vetting, the same thing, $50 to $100 a month. And then general liability is an optional coverage as it was as a broker. You can get general liability as a small business owner. Typically that ranges between $25 and $83 a month. That brings your monthly recurring costs down to $225 up to $633. So the thing that you realize very, very quickly is that it is way less expensive upfront and recurring costs to become a freight agent. So if you want to become a freight broker, that's amazing. That's great. Here's your basic framework. Here's your basic business plan for doing that from a financial perspective to try to budget what your costs are. But you can, if you can't see yourself affording this, or maybe you have a high bond cost, right? Because you have maybe some dinged up credit, you absolutely positively should not give up on your dream, and you should consider becoming a freight agent, because that cost goes down dramatically when you don't have that bond cost, when you don't have that authority cost, when you don't have those broker related costs that that agents don't have. So it's really, really important that you understand that as an agent, you have the opportunity to still earn a significant income because you're paid 50 to 70% of the profit off of any of the clients that you generate, any of the loads that you move and deliver, any of the profit that you generate from your clients, right? So, I know agents that are making 7 figures per year plus. That's $1 million in commissions. I'm not guaranteeing that that's going to happen to you. And they're obviously in the top 1%, but the opportunity is there. But I can tell you that I know lots of agents out there that are making $75,000 to $150,000 to $250,000 a year working from home, right? From their computer without any commute, without, having a boss and all those different components. So starting as a freight broker is amazing, but don't discount the opportunity if you can't afford to start as a freight broker, starting as a freight agent, because the reality is, that, let me bring me back here to the screen. Sorry. The reality is that you can get started in this business as a freight agent for very, very low cost, right? And so, yeah, that's really all I wanted to share with you today was that quick breakdown of your startup costs. Now what I wanted to do is I wanted to give you guys that download. Just give me 1 second. It's www.freightbrokerbootcamp.com/cost. So if you go to that URL, oops, why didn't it come up on the screen? 50 banners. Oh, okay. I got to go and delete this. Sorry. All right, here we go. freightbrokerbootcamp.com/cost. What you're going to be able to do is going to bring you to a page where you can actually opt in to download that exact spreadsheet, that Google sheet, that you could also download as an Excel sheet, whatever you want to do. You can download that for free. It costs you absolutely nothing. And then you can use that for your business planning purposes. But what I want you to understand is that, yes, some costs, like everything else, cost does go up and go down. The bond cost has went up. The bond criteria has went up a little bit. Some of my students have come back to me and said, hey, listen, I can't afford the bond. And I've pointed them in the direction of becoming an agent because there's a great opportunity there. And so don't discount that for sure. And listen, I hope you guys enjoyed this training. Make sure you download that sheet at freightbrokerbootcamp.com/cost. And if you guys are curious about becoming a freight agent or a freight broker or a freight agent, and you're looking for some training, you're looking for some help, you're looking for a guide A to Z, I have Freight Broker Bootcamp, which is my online freight broker and freight agent training program. I had that program for over 15 years. We put over 10,000 students through that program. And we've had some amazing success stories. So if you're looking for freight broker startup help, go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. If you are looking for help with sales, if you're looking for specific help with how to get shippers and you need some hands-on coaching and mentoring, but again, this is only for sales and getting shippers, right? Not for startup help. You can go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist and you get on the wait list for my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Again, that is a weekly coaching program where I work with you to teach you the exact system that I use to do over $200 million as a freight broker. So that's what I would suggest. If you're looking for startup help, go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. If you're looking for sales or getting customers, go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. Appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you set a reminder, hit the like button. I'll see you next week on the next Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. All right, so if you want to stick around for Q&A, hold your questions for a moment. Don't type your questions, okay? Give me just 1 second. I was talking really, really fast, but I wanted to try to get this in because I know you guys don't have an hour to try to do a full breakdown on this, right? Maybe I'll do a more detailed breakdown. I wanted to do kind of a quicker breakdown. This is probably even longer than I wanted it to be, but ultimately you guys can download that sheet. Again, I'm going to give you that sheet right here. freightbrokerbootcamp.com/cost. If you go there, just put your email in. You'll be able to, it'll email you the link directly to the spreadsheet, to the Google sheet. And then you guys can use all of that, make adjustments as you want, whatever you want to do. Okay. So hope you guys enjoy that. Hope that helps you. I know I've had a lot of questions from people about, hey, it's a question I get all the time. How much does it cost to start to become a freight broker? How much does it cost to become an agent? Right? I get that question probably almost every day, literally. So I wanted to do an updated breakdown because I think the last time I did it was a few years ago. And things have changed, right? Things have definitely changed. So particularly on the bond side, not so much on the software or the other side. Most of the other stuff is pretty similar, but on the bond side, it's definitely changed. So I figured I would refresh it for you guys. So, all right, cool. Okay, so let's jump into Q&A. If you have questions, hit me up in the comments, whether that be about this training, whether that be about anything to do with becoming a freight broker startup or freight broker agent, right? And starting and growing a successful freight brokerage or freight agency. Hit me up in the comments and I'll do my best. Karen, does someone know if non-citizen residents can get a surety bond without depositing $75K? Probably not. Probably not. You need credit. They need to be able to run credit. And so probably not, unless you have a partner who is a US based, who has good credit. That might be one workaround. If you have a partner, a business partner that has really good credit, you might be able to do that. Other than that, what I'm going to strongly suggest to you, Karen, is exactly what I talked about a minute ago. If you can't get your broker bond, become a freight agent. You're absolutely crazy not to become a freight agent. Okay? You have way less startup cost, way less recurring cost, way less risk, and the job is exponentially easier because all you need to do is find shippers and move their freight from A to Z. Now, when I don't want to say only, but you don't have to do the software, you don't have to do the tech, you don't have to do the financial management, you don't have to do the billing, you don't have to do the collections, you don't have to do the licensing, you don't have to do the bonding, you don't have to do the insurance, you don't have to do any of that. You just focus on that small component of finding and helping and supporting shippers move their freight from A to Z. And that's why you get paid 50 to 70% of the profit. Okay. So I would highly recommend that if someone's international and they can't get a bond or they can't get their authority, start as a freight agent. Okay. Hope that helps. Chairwoman says, where can I learn to quote freight? Well, I've got a YouTube. Let me see. I've got a YouTube video on my channel. If you go to my YouTube channel, let me see. Do I have a link here? Wait a minute. This might, oh, here you go. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/freight quote. I have a link directly to, let me see. There you go. All right, here's a document. If you go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/freight quote, you will be able to download a step-by-step worksheet that will show you the process of doing full truckload freight quotes. Now, it doesn't apply for LTL, right? But it's full truckload freight quotes, which is the majority of what most brokers and agents do. So just happen to have that handy. That works out great. Julie Savage, is your boot camp a one-time charge? Yes. Well, we have two options. You can be a gold member where you get a 1-year membership for one-time cost of $185. Or you can get a platinum membership, which is a lifetime membership for a one-time cost of $389. So that's lifetime access, lifetime support. It's a way better deal, but some people, that maybe aren't in a position to invest that can get started with a gold membership, which is 1 year full access, full support for just $185. Okay. And then anybody can just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. You can sign up in 2 minutes. And then in 1 more minute, you'll get an email with access to log in and you can start consuming the training. That's how quick it is. So you don't have to wait for classes. You don't have to wait for anything. Everything is there on demand. You can go at your own pace. Okay. Thanks for asking, Julie. Appreciate it. Give me 1 second. Okay. In all your years as a freight broker, did you see so much fraud in freight, and what advice do you offer? The amount of fraud has increased for sure, right? From when I started as a broker, even through to when I ended, when I sold the brokerage in 2016. Okay. So yeah, there is more fraud. But there's also more technology now to vet that fraud. Okay. So what I strongly suggest is that you use some of these tools like Carrier 411 or Carrier OK, or I think there's some other ones like Carrier Assure or Highway, different solutions where they will give you an extensive amount of data, and they will scrub the carriers that you're about to use so that you can make better decisions. So that's why I included in my previous version of this startup cost, I did not have carrier vetting tool built in there, right? I had TMS, I had Loadboard, but I did not have a carrier vetting tool put in there. So I added it to the spreadsheet because it is a cost that you're going to want to now start to build into there, right? So here's the key. Slow down your vetting, have a process that you follow for vetting those carriers, and just go with your gut. If it looks like a fish and it smells like a fish, it's probably a fish, right? So don't load something like that. You know, I'm going to do an entire training on vetting carriers. I'm not going to do it right now, but my suggestion is to use some of the carrier vetting tools, again, like Carrier 411 or Carrier OK or Carrier Assure or Highway or some, you know, or I think Freight Validate is another one. There's a bunch of them out there, right? But I'm going to do a training on this, so I'll share some of those with you, right? We'll do a future training on that. Hope that helps you, Julio. Scott Teller, the sales training is out of my budget right now. Is there anything you can recommend in getting shippers and learning good sales techniques? Well, Scott, I've probably got 100 free freight broker sales training videos on my YouTube channel. Okay. So I have a ton of free training there for sales and for startup and for operations in general. Right. But on the sales arena, I probably got 100 plus videos there. So there's a lot of free training there. If you're not in a position to be a part of the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, and I don't know, maybe we spoke, maybe we didn't. But, you know, I'd say that your best option is obviously something like a coaching program like my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Again, if you guys are interested in that, you can get on the wait list for that at freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. That's the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. That's where I take that piece of my brain, I transplant it into your head, everything I know about freight broker sales, and the exact system that I used to generate over $200 million of freight broker. It's focused heavily on how to get customers and sales. It's not operations. It's not startup. If you're looking for that stuff, this is not the program for you. This is sales intensive, focused on how to get shippers in any market condition. So that would be my suggestion to you. I think it was Mark, right? Or Scott. Chairwoman, what method can I pay carriers if I don't have a credit score? Well, you can use factoring, right? That's the primary method. You could do quick pays, meaning you could ACH them. You could pay them on delivery, right? So, or do like a 5-day quick pay. So those are the primaries, factoring, as well as maybe ACHs or some sort of quick pay. Those are the two ways that most brokers do it when they don't have broker credit. See, when you first start this business, just like any business, if you start a pizza shop, if you start an insurance company, if you start a real estate company, if you start a manufacturing company, you start that company and you don't have credit. You set up a new corporation and that corporation does not have credit. You may have personal credit, but the corporation does not have credit. So you have to build that credit just like you build your personal credit. And you do that one vendor at a time. And there's two variables. Two of the biggest variables to improving your credit is time and paying bills on time, right? If you pay your invoices on time to your vendors and that gets reported, that builds your credit. The more time you've been in business, the higher your credit gets, assuming that you're paying your bills, right? So I've had clients that have, here, I'm going to give it to you right now. Hold on a minute. Here's a training that will help you. Okay. Hold on. Let me pull this up really quick. It's a free training. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/broker credit. This is from a friend of mine, Tom, who owns a factoring company in the transportation space. His name's Tom. He's with Operify. If you go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/broker credit, he offers anybody in my community access to this broker credit training course. It's an online course. He sells it for $250, but if you go through this link, it costs you $0 because he knows you're from my community. So you go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/broker credit and you can get signed up absolutely free, right? And then of course, if you ever needed any sort of factoring, well, then you can always reach out to those guys. And that's part of the reason why they offer the broker credit, because they want to develop a relationship with you and maybe you'll use them for factoring later. But there's no requirement, okay? And it's absolutely free, okay? So you can get signed up for broker credit. Hope those are a couple tips that helped. Is there an all-in TMS so I don't need separate software? Well, it depends on what you're talking about, separate software. Load boards are going to be separate, okay? Because load boards typically aren't built in to TMSs. Now, they will automatically post to different load boards, but you're not going to be able to view the load board through your TMS. Some of them have more accounting and billing related, options. Some of the TMSs, others don't. But the objective of a TMS is to be a workflow management tool to take your loads from A to Z, so you can manage that freight throughout the process, right? It's a repository for all of that load data, rate data, shipper data, carrier data, right? That's primarily what a TMS is, okay? And the TMS, I'll give you a link to a TMS that I highly recommend because I've worked with them for many, many years. I know the CEO. They're well known to be one of the top TMSs, predominantly for startups and small brokerages in particular. Smaller, when I say smaller, I mean under $50 million in sales. So if you go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS, you can get access to the Ascend TMS, okay? Now, if you use this link, and you put in the coupon code FBBC, you can get access with no credit card, okay? So you get a free trial with no credit card required. So you can kick the tires, never put a credit card in, so you don't have to worry about in 30 or 60 days you're gonna get billed, okay? If you ever wanna upgrade from that, you can always add the billing information later. So if you go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS, you can sign up for free, but in the coupon code, when you're signing up, you have to put FBBC. That's how they know that, you're part of my community. That's why they're going to give you that deal. Okay. Plus, I believe that they give you a shipper database for signing up for that. They give you like a 10 or 20,000 shipper database, right? Just for being part of the community and signing up for a free trial. Okay. So if you guys want to sign up for that, just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS. Again, no credit card required. That's one that I highly recommend. There are tons of TMSs out there, and a lot of them are great. I just happen to know Tim Hyam, the CEO. I've worked with it extensively. I've had tons of students that have used it who love it, and I think it'll be a great starting point for you, right? All right, next question. Give me a minute here, I'm looking. I got a ton of questions today, which is good and bad. Karen, when you get the MC, do you get the DOT automatically? Yes, it's a part of the application process for a broker now. So when you file your application, you'll get both a DOT and an MC number. Carl Gillis asks, what are some ways to get past the gatekeeper? They always send you to a voicemail that doesn't have an identifiable person on the recording or a generic email. Okay, the best way to get past the voicemail or to get past the gatekeeper is to know the name of the person that you're calling. So rather than calling and then saying, hey, can I talk to the shipping department? Or hey, can I talk to the logistics department? Or hey, can I talk to the warehouse? When you do that, it sets up a red flag in that gatekeeper's mind and saying, ding, 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 cold call, cold call, cold call, get rid of them, right? So they're part of a gatekeeper's job is to filter you out. It's to route you to in the right way that the company policy is. And cold calls are typically routed to, to a voicemail or to an email address, that nobody ever replies to. Okay. So that's the best way. You need to do your research and know who the shipping manager is. All right. Think tools like Zoom Info, tools like LinkedIn. Those are all great tools that you can use. Okay. That's the best way. And when you do that, if I were Carl, if you were the shipping manager, what I would say is I would call up and I'd say, hey, can I talk to Carl in shipping? And I'd be real casual about it. I wouldn't say Carl Gillis. I wouldn't say, could I talk to Mr. Carl Gillis? Right. I mean, you want to create a familiarity with whoever's listening to you, with that gatekeeper, so that they believe that you know them. They may ask you a question and say, hey, what's this about? Well, it's about some of the freight coming out of Buffalo, or it's about some of the it's about a load coming out of Buffalo, or it's about some freight coming out of Buffalo. You don't want to say, oh, I'm afraid. You don't want to pitch the gatekeeper. Oh, well, I'm a freight broker and, I just got my license, or I just become a freight agent and I really wanted to work with you guys. Don't pitch the gatekeeper. This is the problem you guys all have, right? You need to keep it simple. So do some research, talk as if you know the person, create that familiarity, and you will get through the gatekeeper a lot more. You'll probably get through 50% more, 50 to 100% more than you're getting through right now. Now, there's no guarantee that that's going to work, but it will work a lot more often than just calling up and asking for the shipping department. Okay. So that's a good tip. I think that's a good place to start. I also have a video on my YouTube channel, I think, where it talks about going through the gatekeeper, where I talk about some other things as well. So that would be what I would recommend. April Dean asks, do brokers have to input in pickup and delivery times? So it depends upon the shipper. The shipper will either give you a load that has pickup and delivery times already scheduled, which is sometimes depending upon the shipper. Other times when a shipper gives you a load, you will have to schedule the pickup and delivery times. So it depends. But it works both ways depending upon the shipper, right? Sometimes shippers have everything pre-scheduled, right? Other times you have to call the pickup and call the delivery to schedule them. That's part of the broker's job, right? Is managing that, because you have to manage when your truck is going to be able to get there, right? If they can't get there today, then having an appointment today doesn't make any sense. And sometimes there's some flexibility if it picks up today, tomorrow, or the next day, depending upon the shipper. So many times we'll have control over those pickup and delivery appointments. Taj, hey Dennis, when hiring a sales rep, what would be a good base salary and commission percentage? Well, I have no idea in Canada because I don't know the conversions. But in the US, there's going to be a wide range, Taj, depending upon their level of experience, right? If they have a lot of experience in sales, then that's going to increase the price. If they have a lot of experience in sales specific to logistics, that's going to increase the price even more. If they have no experience and you're going to train them, well, then that's obviously going to be much lower. So it's a really, really hard question to answer, as far as a sales rep. I would say a lot of it depends upon what you're looking to do. If you're looking to hire and train somebody who's kind of in startup and doesn't have a lot of experience, you could probably get that guy for, in the US dollars, you could probably get that guy or gal for 30 or 40,000 a year plus commission. If you're hiring somebody who has more expensive, has some experience, you might be, a little bit higher, right? And if you have somebody who's got freight brokerage experience specifically in sales, then it might even be higher than that. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a baseline. And again, these are US dollars, okay? All right, Carlos asks, when booking loads, should you consider weather conditions and the time of year into booking your loads? Yeah, absolutely. No question. If you get a load from a shipper that says it has to pick up tomorrow and it's in Florida and that there's a hurricane coming or the potential of a hurricane coming, or you're picking up a load in Maine and that there's a snowstorm coming, well, then you want to consult with your shipper and let them know that that's the case. Now, you ultimately might not have the say-so on whether that has to pick up, but you want to educate them on what's going on, market conditions, weather conditions, things of that nature. So yeah, you would want to take that into consideration when accepting a load from a client, quoting a load from a client, and when selecting a carrier, when working with a carrier. Yeah, absolutely. You would want to consider that. Now, weather conditions are not going to exclude you from picking up loads very often, but it will happen. There are storms. There are weather conditions that will delay freight. It happens all the time. It can delay the pickup. It can delay the transit. It can delay the delivery. So yeah, but good question. A couple more questions and we're going to wrap it up for today. Question, I'm interested in possibly joining your boot camp, but I'm currently running my brokerage that is successful and keeping busy during day-to-day. Is boot camp something that requires full attention? Okay. If you have an established brokerage and you're already moving freight, you probably don't need boot camp. Okay. If you're a broker or an agent and you're already moving freight successfully, you haven't just set up the business, but you're already moving freight successfully, you probably don't need the boot camp startup program. But what you might need, or what you could probably benefit from, is the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Now, the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, you can see all the details, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. That is a freight broker sales coaching and mentoring program where I work with you directly, teach you my entire freight broker sales system that allowed me to do over $200 million of freight broker. That includes everything from cold calling and cold emailing to closing to, overcoming objections, to the entire sales gambit from A to Z, the entire sales process from A to Z. Okay. From finding leads and targeting leads all the way down through customer development and retention, right? Turning your first load into 7 figures in sales, right? So it covers that entire gambit. So that is where you get on the wait list. Now that is a coaching mentoring program. Part of that program is where you can do it on demand whenever you want after hours. And then part of that program is a live weekly coaching call where we do maybe an hour to 2 hours a week. Okay. So hope that helps. If you're curious, listen, it's right now, I'm not accepting new students right now. Okay. But I will be probably in the near future. To get notified when openings become available, you just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. If you're not on the wait list, you're probably not going to get a chance to ever join the program. Okay. So I hope that helps. Hey, Vashaka, welcome. Thanks for joining me. Vashaka is a past student of Bootcamp and Sales Accelerator, super successful. You guys could check out, I did a student success story interview with her on my YouTube channel. She's amazing. Connect with her on LinkedIn. She's amazing. Peacekeeper Dennis, we all know how hard it is to get shippers. And how can we be sure that the TMS owner will not take our customers, because right now we've gotten all they need to do that? Well, a TMS provider is not a broker. If a TMS provider is also a broker, that's a huge red flag. Okay. So you don't want to do business with a TMS provider that is also a broker. That I wouldn't do. And I understand your point. But Tim Hyam at Ascend used to be a broker decades ago, sold his brokerage, started his TMS, but no longer owns a brokerage. So he is exclusively focused on the software. He doesn't make money as a broker. He only makes money supporting brokers with the software. So that should answer that question. But yeah, I wouldn't do business with a TMS that's also a broker either. Yeah. So that would be a huge red flag, but that's not the case with Ascend. And you guys can sign up for that for free. Just put in the coupon code FBBC. You can go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS. All right. And I'm going to do my last question here. Hold on a minute. I think I got one last question. Karen wants a follow-up on her non-resident question. Is there a possibility that I can get the surety bond paying it up front, or do I still need to have credit? You're still going to need to have credit. Your bond cost is determined by your credit. So if you don't have credit, then you won't get approved at all. There's no approval, right? You got to get approved first, and then that credit will determine your approval. Typical bond costs are 1 to 5% of the bond cost, which is 75,000 bond costs. But just because you are required a $75,000 bond doesn't mean that you have to deposit 75,000 or that you have to have any security, right? So, I mean, I see people that pay $1,000 a year and have a $75,000 bond. It's more like an insurance product than it is, a guaranteed loan or something, right? It's not a guaranteed loan. It's a insurance product, more of an insurance product. So the cost varies based on credit. But yeah, you won't, even if you paid upfront, you still have to have credit to get approved. Because you got to understand something. Here's the way a bond works. The broker bond is designed to protect carriers, not shippers, carriers. So if a broker doesn't pay a carrier on a load, that carrier has recourse to go to the bond company and say, listen, this broker didn't pay me on my load. You need to pay me. The bonding company will reach out to me, let me know, and I will either have the option of paying it or they'll pay it, right? And then if they pay it, then now I owe them the money. So they're potentially extending credit to me as a bonding company, okay? So I'm a broker, they're a bonding company. So that's how that works, all right? So they need to assess your credit in order to determine your credit worthiness, because credit is a factor that will predict success in business. If you have bad credit, then there are more people that go out of business as a new broker that have bad credit than new brokers with good credit that go out of business. It's just math, right? MOV, you can join the bootcamp. Just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Okay? Freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Let me see. Hold on. Mic unplugged. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I think we're back now. Just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com if you want to sign up for the Freight Broker Bootcamp, okay? You can go there. I offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. No questions asked. We're not worried. If you're not happy in the first 60 days, just ask for your money back. We'll give your money back, okay? That's how confident we are that you're going to like the information and find huge value in that program, okay? So, okay, good. Awesome. Perfect. All right, listen, guys, thank you so much for being here. Have an awesome day. Have an awesome week. Hit the like button. Share the stream. Set a reminder for next week to come back and spend some time with me Monday at noon, where I do additional Freight Broker Bootcamp live trainings every week. Appreciate you guys being here. Again, hit the like button. Share the stream. Appreciate you being here. See you next week.